One of the first questions that I wanted to ask you was, what do you want people to know about you? Like, first of all.
So again, thank you all for having me and taking the time to talk to me. I First of all, my name is Daniel Corona. I've been the mayor of West Wendover since 2016. I'm a fourth generation West Wendover resident or Wendover community resident. And on my mom's side, a fourth generation Nevadan on my dad's side. So I have very deep roots to our community. I Fun fact, my great grandpa was actually one of the first city council members in Wendover, Utah. He served for a couple years over there. I also am a graduate of West Wendover High School. I was one of those kids that as soon as I turned 18 and graduated and moved out, I swore that I was never coming back. The joke was on me, clearly, because not only did I come back, now I'm the mayor, but I moved back in 2015. I decided to run for mayor because I had moved. I had been away for about 6 years, and in that time, West Wendover it seemed like was at a standstill. Nothing new had really happened. There hadn't been any new businesses come into the community. There hadn't been any new houses. The kind of catalyst for what made me run for office, there was a pothole on my grandparents' street that had been there when I graduated high school. It was still there when I moved back in 2015. I graduated in 2009. So that pothole was 6 years old. And I was complaining about it to my grandpa and just said how ridiculous it was. And he told me, stop complaining. I've got the $50 right here. Why don't you go and file and run for something? Instead of complaining about it, why don't you fix it? And so, that's kind of what happened. And I took on an incumbent mayor, and much to I think everyone's surprise, I won, and here we are.
That's good to know. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a lot of positive feedback about you being a mayor. Like that, you're yeah, you're a good mayor. And another question I wanted to ask you is, like, what are the responsibilities of being a mayor for our community?
So as the mayor is one of those jobs that doesn't have like a super clear job description. It's kind of at its basic sense, it's show up to 2 meetings a month, sign some papers whenever you need to, and then that's it. Have a nice day. But every mayor has the job to kind of make of it what they want and what they will as the mayor. I remember back in 2016 when I was running and I was talking to Mrs. Durham's seniors, one of the kids felt the need to remind me after I had said like everything I wanted to do, that the job was a part-time job. To me, it may be a part-time job as it relates to pay and certainly benefits because I don't receive any. But it's a full-time job and responsibility. And what I mean by that is I, as the mayor, sit on several boards and commissions. I take those very seriously. I'm on the State Commission on Aging, which addresses needs of our seniors in our communities across the state. They, before I was appointed to that board, had no one from a rural community on that board, and so the senior issues of Las Vegas and Reno got paid attention to, but not of smaller communities where we have a lot of senior citizens that are just as important as those folks in those bigger cities. I also am a member of the Elko County Debt Management Commission, which reviews. This is a super fun one, super exciting. We get to review all the financials of all of the cities in the county, all of the governmental entities in the county, just to make sure that there's a second board taking a look at their financials and making sure that they're not going into too much debt that's unmanageable. I also am the president of the Nevada League of Cities and Municipalities, which represents 17 of our 16 of our 17 cities in the state. The only city that isn't involved in the league is North Las Vegas, but over the last year, it's been my job to work to get them back. And I think we're making some progress there. And what we do at the league is really promote the needs of cities at the state level and the national level. So things like infrastructure, when we need funding from the state for roads and bridges, that's not just an issue that happens here in West Wendover. It happens in every city across the state. And so the League of Cities is that joint voice, so that when we go to our state government, we have that extra power of all 16. Well, we include North Las Vegas from time to time, even though they don't pay their dues. They're a bunch of freeloaders. But we like to say that we are the voice of Nevada cities, and so anytime there's a big issue that comes up for the cities, we address that. I've also been really fortunate. I got to serve on Governor Sisolak's transition committee when he was elected, to help set his administration up for success. We worked really hard to find people to run the departments that the state oversees, to make those good hires, to make sure that those departments are well run, and to set his policy goals for his first term. Obviously, COVID threw a wrench in things, but we had some good stuff that we had worked on that we were planning for, which included increased funding for education, not cuts to education, which is what has happened due to the financial restraints of the state. So I do a lot. That was kind of my weird round way of answering that question. There's a lot that the mayor does, if we have an active mayor. And that's why I think it's important that we have a mayor who puts in the time, even if you don't really get paid for it. I did the math one time. I work about 40 hours a week as the mayor. I make $3.75 an hour. So it doesn't pay well. And so a lot of people just show up to the council meetings and that's it. But I think it's important. And I think that we can see the difference in what having an active mayor has made for our community, because we've got a lot of things done over the last 4 years.
Okay, so this would be your first term. So why would you want to run again?
It's a question I get a lot, especially after I tell people the $3.75 per hour thing. But I feel that, we as a community over the last 4 years have made a lot of progress. We brought in new industry with the cannabis industry that created 30 plus new jobs, all of them well paying, all of them with full benefits on day one. That's something that our biggest employer right now doesn't provide. And so that gave folks a different pathway to get up on their feet and have some additional income coming in and have some health benefits that were good. We also, have worked really hard to bring in new businesses. I mentioned the cannabis industry. We have the dispensary. We're working with a cultivation company right now to bring them in hopefully next year, which will create another 15 good paying jobs. And we also are just about to break ground this spring on our downtown project, which has been my baby since I got elected. I am super excited about the downtown because it will finally provide a singular location where our small businesses can locate, where hey, if I want to go shopping and grab a bite to eat, I can just go to the downtown instead of having to get in your car, go to this place in one area of town, go shopping, go all the way to the other end of town to go to a restaurant to eat. You can do all of that in one place. And also, the downtown will include affordable housing, which is something that we desperately need in this community. One of my biggest regrets as mayor is the land sale that the council voted through. Not Mrs. Durham, because she wasn't on the council at the time, so I'll give her that cop out. But the council voted to sell 14 residential lots that the city owned that were valued at $30,000 or at $40,000 for $15,000 a piece, under the promise from the developer that they were going to be affordable housing units, and they're selling for over $300,000, which I can't afford that. I don't know very many people who can afford that. So, we really need to have affordable housing units. Otherwise, we're going to see, what like Reno and Elko and Las Vegas are experiencing right now is it's not affordable to live there, and the people who have lived there for a long time are getting priced out of their homes, and they have to move elsewhere. I've been here. My family's been here for 4 generations. I want to make sure that we can stay here for 4 generations, and so that affordable housing is so important. That's why, I'm running for reelection, and same with healthcare. That's been another day one thing that I've been working on is trying to improve our healthcare services. And we've built a good relationship with Nevada Health Centers, who runs the clinic, and they've made a lot of improvements, but we still have a long way to go. And so, I'm the type of person, once I start something, I need to finish it. Otherwise, it drives me crazy. And so, that's why I want to, I hope that the people of West Wendover will elect me to a second term so that we can finish these great things.
Okay, cool. um, okay. So you say that you want to do healthcare and the downtown and the jobs and affordable housing units. What are other things you'd like to accomplish? Um, um, what's another thing you'd like to accomplish if you're elected again?
I've said, because when I first ran back in 2016, and feel free to stop me if my answers get too long because I can go on forever. But so in 2016, when I first ran, I ran on a platform of economic diversification because our community has one of the highest rates of poverty per capita in the state of Nevada, which means we have more people. We disproportionately, most of us live under the poverty level. And to me, it's always been about if I can accomplish one thing, it's that we pull people out of poverty. And the way that we do that is by bringing in new industries and bringing in new businesses that pay well, and also giving people an opportunity to start building some wealth. And the best way to build wealth is through home ownership. And so, those are the things that, like, if I complete nothing else, as long as we brought in new jobs that pay good, decent, so that people don't have to work 2 to 3 jobs, that they can just work one, and that they're able to afford a home, buy a home, and stay in that home. And so those are, I mean, if I accomplish nothing else, that's what I want to accomplish. Another thing, though, I can't believe I almost forgot to mention this, that Mrs. Durham was instrumental on is the community rec center and community building. That's something that we hope to have done within the next couple of years, which is badly needed. We need things for our kids to do. And so that rec center is another thing that's in the pipeline that, I was hoping would get done in a first term, but we'll have to wait till the second term. And so, I again want to see that through and get that done. And then also bringing DMV services to our community. That's something that I've been working along with Councilwoman Holm with the state legislature and the DMV on, is to bring those services to our community. And I think that within the next year, that's something that we'll accomplish.
Okay, so when you first came in, we were talking about coronavirus and students returning back to school. Do you think it's safe enough for us to return back to school or no?
So I want to preface this by saying I am not a parent. I do not have kids in school. Don't work in the schools, and I'm no medical expert. So what I listen to and what I look at is how do we reopen the schools safely? We, one of the biggest concerns that I have is the ventilation system, especially in the high school. I've been in the high school enough times to know that you don't get good ventilation in there. And so what's going to happen if a kid comes back to school is sick? They don't realize they're sick. They think maybe they have allergies or maybe just an itchy throat or whatever. And they, God forbid, have COVID and that those particles get stuck in that room because the ventilation system's not well, I just worry about how would we handle that outbreak. And I don't think the county at this time, it doesn't seem at least that they have a plan for that. It's just isolate that kid, and hope for the best. Whereas at the beginning, it was close the schools if there's if before there's an outbreak. And I don't think that they've thought that through enough. So, my sister, she's keeping her two youngest kids at home. She already signed them up for homeschool, because my niece, she has really bad asthma, and so if she gets COVID, it could be really bad for her. And so, if it's, I just think if it's not safe enough, or if we don't have a plan in place to stop an outbreak, I don't think it's safe. And I mean, one of the biggest things that you need for indoors is a good ventilation system. We don't have that in our schools. So to me, I would say it's probably not safe. I know, there's a lot of parents, there's a lot of kids. There might even be some teachers and administrators who think that they want to get back to school because they want to start to get back to the way things are going normal, or get back to normal. But, I just don't know that we're there yet. And so I would need to see a more thorough plan by the county to be safe with it. Also, like, I've talked to some teachers, and having kids separated 6 feet is going to be a challenge enough to where some teachers are going to have to stand in one spot in their classroom and not be able to move without violating the COVID guidelines. And so until we get to a place where we don't necessarily have to worry about that, I'm not sure that it's safe. Also, we still don't know what this winter is going to hold. Shameless plug for the flu shot. Everyone, go get your flu shot. Encourage your parents to go get their flu shot. Anyone you know and love, encourage them to go get their flu shot, because there's going to be a lot of people who come down with COVID who think they just have the flu, and so we need to just eliminate that, and just make sure that everyone gets their flu shot.
Okay, so when you talk about again, when you talk about healthcare and jobs, what are you offering the community that's not been offered before?
That's a good question. I think that, like, one way, and this isn't to bash any of our previous mayors, because I have a lot of respect for all of them. But I think one way that I'm different is in the relationships that I've built. I have worked very hard to build relationships with folks so that when we talk about West Wendover, they don't just look at me like, where's that? I've never heard of that place. They know exactly where West Wendover is. They know the issues that face our community. One of the first calls I made when I got elected mayor was to the CEO of Nevada Health Centers. And we had a few screaming matches over the phone, but now we get along great. I can call him up anytime. He's called me up when they've had issues, and we're really able to just talk things through and work those out. And I don't know that we've ever really had that relationship, especially on the healthcare side, where it is that open line of communication. I brought up some issues with folks calling up there to get an appointment. They couldn't, but someone else did who knew somebody who worked up there, and they got right in. And they handled that quickly. And now if you call up there and you need an appointment, you're not going to get preferential treatment because you know somebody. Also, they've increased this number of services that they can do. They were really quick with COVID tests. They had COVID tests almost immediately. And they're do testing every day. If you have symptoms, if you've been contacted by a contact tracer, they are really making sure that we're staying on top of this COVID response. And so, continuing that relationship, we were in a good place. We've worked well together to try to recruit doctors and PAs, which is what we have up there now as the physician's assistants. But I just believe that we've got that relationship going, and I would hate for us to have to start over from scratch, because then you're just playing catch up. Right now, I feel like we've got momentum going with the clinic. That we need to keep our foot on the gas and just keep that going. Same with businesses and bringing in new industries into our community. We are, like I said, we're about to break ground on the downtown project. Um, you know, I tend to just focus on my race and not on what my opponent's doing, but I don't know what my opponent's plan is. I don't think anyone knows what my opponent's plan is because he hasn't campaigned at all. So to me, as just somebody who lives in the community, that concerns me because I don't know what he's planning on doing. And so would that downtown project be put on the shelf for a different priority? And that's something that's so important to our community when we talk about housing, when we talk about bringing in new industries. So, I think the biggest thing that I bring that no one else has is those relationships.
Okay, so as you're campaigning, how are you doing that? Are you advertising or are you just using your name to get the votes?
So I'm sure you have all seen my face around town on those signs that are way too big. Um, you've also probably got my door hanger on your door, or your parents have got my mailers in the mail. In 2016, I knocked on just about every door in town. I loved doing that. When Mrs. Durham ran, I knocked on a lot of doors with her. I'm a people person, and so like isolation is kind of driving me crazy. I like to be out knocking on doors, talking to people, hearing about the issues that are important to them. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I can't really do that. And so we've done the mailers and we went out and hung up door hangers. And I also have just bought ads in one of the local newspapers.
Okay, so you're having to get some big like supporters. Or like what supporters are you getting for your campaigning?
So I'm really proud of the support that my campaign has. As soon as I filed to run, I announced the endorsements of 4 of the 5 city council members. Those are Mrs. Durham, Councilwoman Home, Councilman Nick Flores, and Ismael Gutierrez. I've also received probably the best endorsement I'll ever get in my life from the former uh, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Julian Castro, who was also the mayor of San Antonio at one time. That one was a huge endorsement for me because I've talked to I've been really lucky that I in this position have got to meet a lot of really cool and interesting people. And Secretary Castro was certainly one of those people. And we've talked a lot about housing. And to know that he, believed enough in the vision that we have for the downtown project, that he was willing to announce his support for a mayor of a small town. That was really cool to me. I've also, got support of Nevada's Lieutenant Governor Kate Marshall, our Nevada Treasurer Zach Conine, the Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford. They've all endorsed and donated money to my campaign. I've also, received donations from Maverick Gaming, which owns the Wendover Nugget and the Red Garter, as well as Deep Roots Harvest, which owns the dispensary. And Lee's Liquor. They've donated. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of folks. All of my campaign contributions are public record too. By the way, they're on the Secretary of State's website. I have support from members of the state assembly, state senators who are supporting my race, and just everyday people in West Wendover. And I think that to me, the most important support, while those other endorsements and supporters are really cool and nice things to have, are when I'm out hanging up door hangers and someone tells me, "Oh, I don't need that. I'm already voting for you." That to me is the most important endorsement I could get. And so, I know there probably, I remember 2 years ago, there was one of the local newspapers published someone's contribution and expense reports and tried to make a big deal out of it. My campaign has raised over $18,000. I'm proud of that. That means that people believe in what we're doing in West Wendover and they want to see that work continue. Also, campaigning is really expensive. And so, having that money really makes sure that while we can't go out and knock doors, I can still make sure that I'm able to stay in touch with everyone and get our message out.
So, as you're running again against Mike, I believe that's his name. I don't know his last name. Why do you think you're a better candidate than he is?
Um, well, I've got experience. And experience is a funny thing. I remember in 2016, I ran against the incumbent mayor, and a lot of people wanted to stress that my opponent then had the experience and I didn't. And one thing that I reminded folks of is experience is important, yes, but what's more important is what you do with that experience. And I think that, the record that I have, I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of the work that we have done over the last 4 years. I'm really proud of the relationship that I have with the city council, where we've built a relationship where we can disagree and we can have very, very strong and heated discussions. But at the end of the day, we all respect each other to know that we need to work together, and we have a good enough rapport where we can get into heated arguments. I mean, I've been in my office before council meetings, and the council member will come in and yell at me, and then we go out to the council, and we're fine because we may have heated discussions, but at the end of the day, we all know that we want what's best for our community, and we're all going to work our. Ooh, I almost cursed. We're all going to work tirelessly to make sure that we get there. I've also got the relationships at the state level. I have a lot of friends in the state legislature on both sides of the aisle. Democrats and Republicans I get along with. And that's because as the president of the League of Cities, I've had to. I may have disagreements with folks. I may disagree with them on issues, but I have to get along with them. And because of those relationships, we've been able to get things done. I also, like I mentioned before, I served on the governor's transition committee. I know the governor very well. I've got endorsements from the lieutenant governor, the treasurer, and the attorney general. All of them, aside from being my personal friends, are people that I work very well with. Kate Marshall, our lieutenant governor, helped me and a local mother get her child into pre-K last year. The pre-K was full, but this child really needed to get into pre-K, and we worked with Kate Marshall to get them into pre-K. Treasurer Conine, he worked closely with us last legislative session to get our DMV bill passed so that we can get closer to getting a DMV in West Wendover. And so building those relationships are important. And then on the federal side, I've got relationships with every single one of our members of Congress. I talk regularly with both of our senators, Senator Cortez Masto and Senator Rosen. Both of them are people that I get along very well with. They're both people who have helped us work with the BLM to get the property for our downtown project. They've also helped us expand or work to expand our industrial park so that we will finally have access to the airport on the Nevada side so that we can bring in like a UPS Express or FedEx. I don't remember what their FedEx Express or whatever it is. And then also our Congressman, Mark Amodei. I have a very good relationship with him. We work very well together. And then the other members of Congress from Nevada, Stephen Horsford, Dina Titus, and Susie Lee, while they're not our Congress members, they're people that I've gotten to know through the League of Cities well enough that when West Wendover needs something from Congress, we're able to get all 4 members of the House on board, and we're able to get it. And we'll get, the 4 members of Congress and our 2 senators. And so I think that that's important, especially as West Wendover continues to grow, and there's going to be growing pains with it. We're going to need help from the state and federal government. And so having those relationships is crucial. And so I think that's what sets me apart from my opponent. Again, it's hard to say like what would make me better because I don't even know what his plans are. But it all comes down to those relationships, and I'm really proud of that. And I think that they've served West Wendover well, and I think they'll continue to do so.
So you talk about having relationships with family, friends, to people in Congress and senators. How have you built those relationships?
I am annoying, or I'm persistent to the point of being annoying. I I know there are members of the state legislature in 2017, which was the first legislative session that I was the mayor, that would see me coming and would turn the other way because they were tired of hearing about West Wendover. But those are people that now I'm friends with, and so I have just shown up and talked to people about West Wendover and explained to them why we matter and why we feel that we need a bigger voice, or at least a voice at the table. I think that is so important. Just showing up, making sure that people know who we are, and then also when we have disagreements, um, you know, RBJ or RBG, may God rest her soul, had a wonderful quote, which is what I live my life by, which is have disagreements without being disagreeable. And what that means is you can disagree with someone, without being a jerk about it. You just because I may disagree with someone doesn't mean they're a bad person. They just have a different thought process than I have, and really understanding that and putting that to practice. I mean, like Congressman Amade is the perfect example. Uh, the mayor's job is nonpartisan, and I really, as the mayor, operate in a nonpartisan way. But in my personal life, I'm a strong Democrat. Congressman Amade is very conservative Republican. But because we both live our lives by that quote of be able to disagree without being disagreeable, we get along really well. And we've gotten some great things accomplished. Both members of the state legislature that represent West Wendover, State Senator Gokachia and Assemblyman Ellison, they both are very staunch Republicans. We disagree heavily on some social issues, but at the end of the day, they both want what's best for West Wendover, and so do I. And so we work very well together. And so I think, putting those personal political issues aside and just focusing on what is best for West Wendover, no matter whoever has that option or answer. I always say I'll work with Democrats, Republicans, nonpartisans, just whoever has the best answer. And that's really the way that I've built those relationships.
Okay. Well, that's the end of my questions. Miss Durham, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Who was your favorite teacher in high school?
It depends on who's asking that question.
No,
I'm kind of split because Olivia is on, and so I want to say Mrs. or Mr. Reamer.
Just remember that Mrs. Reamer is the cute one and I'm the funny one. So
Yeah, I mean, Mrs. Reamer was by far my favorite English teacher.
no,
And you were by far my favorite history teacher.
wow, thank you. Mayor Corona, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with my students and allow them to start to explore and develop some of the skills of journalism as they have been submersed into this broadcast journalism class with a teacher who has no clue what she's doing. It's like, now how do I send the link? Wait a minute, where's the camera? But no, I just would really like to thank you for your time and your commitment to the community and all that you've done. And I know that looking out for everybody in this community, whether it's the seniors or our youth, has been your passion. And again, I just want to thank you for your time. And if any of the other students have a question, that they would like to ask, or they simply want to ask a question so that they can get some airtime and go, look, that was me. That would have been me in high school. It's like, okay, what can I ask? But if anybody else has a question for the mayor, feel free to unmute your mic and ask him. And if not, Mayor, we will give you the last word. And again, thank you so much for your time today.
Guessing no one has a question. It's awfully quiet. Okay, I just want to say thank you again to all of you. I don't know if any of you are 18 or going to be 18 by November 3rd, but please, please, please get registered to vote. No matter who you vote for, it's just so important that you vote. Encourage your friends and family who are 18 and older to get registered if they're not, and to vote if they are. Also, the census. I'm sure Mrs. Durham has talked your ear off about the census, but the census deadline has been extended to October 31st. So tell everyone you know, scream it from the rooftops. We need every single person in our community counted. We are growing too fast to rely on 2010 numbers for 2020 funding. So please, please, please get counted, take the census, and vote if you can. If not, obviously I would appreciate if you are going to be 18, I would appreciate your vote. But just voting in itself is important. And make sure that you research the candidates and you vote for the candidates that suit your life best. I said earlier on that I am a strong believer, and it's not the Democrat answer or the Republican answer. It's whatever is the right answer. So research the candidates. Don't just assume because your parents are a Democrat or Republican that you need to vote straight Democrat or Republican. Research these people and understand who you're voting for, and vote for the person, not the party. So just really thank you all again for your time. Thank you for your interest in journalism. We need journalists, especially in our community. I know that one of the local newspapers was trying to sell recently, and they struggled to find a buyer. So there's a future to own a newspaper here in West Wendover, because I think she still wants to sell it if she can. So stick with it. I hope that you learn a lot, and thank you again so much. This has been fun.
All right, if we can get everybody to unmute their mic and say hi, so that you can have your mom and dad see your face and say, see, I was with the mayor. So go ahead, everybody. Eleonora, you first.
Hi.
All right, Tatiana, you got to unmute your mic or it won't pick you up.
Hi.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Hello.
Hello. I don't think being with the mayor is as cool as Mrs. Durham is trying to make it out to be, but
Well,
there was a councilwoman every day.
yeah, I mean, come on. You're just the executive branch. I make the laws, bud. All right. No. Well, okay. Well, listen, jokes aside, thank you again for your time. I really, really appreciate it. We look forward to hearing from our other candidates. And let's everybody give anchorwoman Fawn Neaman a big round of applause for her first ever interview. So that was fantastic, Fawn. You did amazing. I can tell you, Mayor, it is one of the richest and most rewarding things to watch these young kids, and you're just not sure, what they're going to bring to the table. And then you sit down and it's like, wow, we have just got the most amazing kids in our community. And
Yes, we do.
It is so awesome. So awesome.
Yes, and great job, Fawn. I didn't realize that was your first interview ever. So you did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I was kind of nervous. I was thinking about it all yesterday.
Fawn, you did phenomenal. You did phenomenal.
Yeah, you did great. The rest of them will be easy now. How do I get out of here?